Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the RADNESS OVER SADNESS podcast. I'm your host, Max, of course, and today I want to welcome our very first guest, Mike Liberty. He's a photographer, entrepreneur, dad, a whole bunch of different things. I'm stoked that he's willing to be the very first guest on this podcast. So welcome, enjoy, crack open a beer, grab a water, whatever you want, and enjoy this episode. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great day. Later. Yo, what's up, dude?
Fantastic. I'm talking to you.
Dude, you're always so kind. I love that about you.
How's Max doing?
Doing pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a pretty chill Thursday. Thursday today.
It is Thursday, right? I don't
Can't
know.
complain.
Yeah. No, I like the video in the background. I love it's is that your work?
Yeah, it's a little shameless self-promotion, you know.
Gotta do
Like,
it, man. You're talented. You gotta show the world.
I appreciate that. And you don't have to worry about copyright strikes showing your own videos.
Exactly.
It's like
Gotta own it, right? Gotta own it to avoid trouble.
win-win situation. What are
So
you
tell me.
what are you drinking today?
I wish I was promoting better beer, but this is a Canadian beer called Boreal. There's the fuzz right there.
You gotta
And
do it like one of them TikTok influencers where you put your hand up behind
right,
it.
that's right. Got to do that. It's and it's obviously like Canadian, so it's got a polar bear as a logo,
Nice.
and a fox. Like we just want to promote our nature. I don't know. It's weird. So it's one of those like easy beers you could find anywhere in Canada. It's just a pale ale. Just refreshing, solid 5% bitterness and sweetness, man.
Not gonna lie. I gotta be real though. Like I don't put polar bears in Canada. Like
You're right.
I don't
We,
really
we just
cross-reference
touched.
those.
We touched a bit. We touched a bit of the that north area where the polar bears live. So we just got to take it, right? Otherwise, we just talk about beavers and moose and all that jazz.
Maple syrup. Now we're just stereotyping.
Yeah, we're stereotyping, but I'm Canadian, so I'm able to kind of join into the fun. What are you drinking?
So I just picked up some Captain Fatties, a nice IPA.
I love it.
They were actually at the brew fest I just photographed on the Saturday.
Okay, yeah,
So
yeah,
got
I
to
saw
like
some of that work.
meet them a little bit, and then I'm going camping at the end of this month, and they're actually giving us beer to take photos of and stuff.
Come
It's like,
on, good deal.
I love stuff like that.
That's the best, and it's local, I assume, right?
About like an hour away
Okay,
south,
right.
so local enough.
Yeah, right. Where I'm just like helping this this provincial, I guess, like a state entity. Not too bad. Not too bad. Next time I'll have more craft beer we can speak to.
Is it state beer? Now we're just getting totally off sidetrack. This is turning into
Right. Wait, what's
a
this
beer
podcast
episode.
about? I was like, Max, my buddy Max is doing a podcast. I got the honor and privilege of like getting asked if I could be a guest. And I'm like, how can I support? How can I add value if that's possible? So
Dude, everything you touch adds value.
everything I touch. That's right. That was a paid promotion, guys.
You're
I
like King
owe him
Midas.
after that.
Yeah, I've just been sitting on this idea to have like my own, I hate to call it like a podcast. I really just want an excuse to interview my friends and just people I found interesting and like ask them questions. And then I don't know, kind of like I find you interesting, so maybe someone else will and like help share.
Yeah.
Kind of like, I don't know, just share what everyone's doing.
I love it. Sign me up, man. I'm signing me up as a fan. I'm going to be following that shit. Because I think that's what it is, right? Life is really about the people you meet and the ones that you can vibe with, whether it's virtual because we haven't met physically yet.
Right.
I think just having fun with those people is just what life's about. And if it's for a
Absolutely.
chapter, great. If it's the next, great. And if it's long term, fine. So yeah,
It's like when one person wins, we all win.
yeah, man.
And
So hopefully we're weird enough that people want to listen in.
well, I got before you introduce yourself, I wrote down like who I think or like who you are to me. Because I've been following you for like what 2 years now or so.
Yeah, we're like COVID friends. We just kind of ran into each other through Instagram because of you freaking do great things that I vibe with, and I'm like, hey Max, and then I think I won't steal the thunder. I'll see what you wrote.
See, like COVID wasn't all negative. Some
No,
some things have prospered from it.
yeah,
All right, so let me get started here, and I apologize if I can't say this word correctly because I only speak one language, basically, in Spanish one is about as
That's
far as I
amazing.
got.
I don't know any Spanish, so good. Go for it.
So I first met you when you did the Tilseman show.
Yeah.
Did I say that correctly? That was the one I was most worried
I
about.
think it's a pronunciation that a lot of English speaking natives say, and it's Swedish. Even I missay it, but yeah, we'll say it's till Sam. It's till salmons, but till salmons. It doesn't matter. It's the same. Go.
So okay, so then you also do something with IKEA.
Yep.
You're a coffee expert,
We'll get
uh,
into it. We'll get into it.
musician, photographer. Do you consider yourself a YouTuber? You make
Want to be a YouTuber. Yeah, definitely working not hard enough.
your newest project, the Rebel cohorts, which
Yeah.
little sidetrack. We'll get more into that, but one of the reasons why I haven't shown up to any of the meetings is because I wanted this to be like our first like real interaction.
Love it.
And then if I've been to the meetings, like, oh, we go way back,
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
You're also a dad
Yeah.
and an Airbnb host,
Kind of. We'll get into it.
kind of, and that's what I got.
Love it, man. I'm humbled that you know so much about my life. Because we
Just a
post and we
stalker.
share, and we stalk the people that we that I inspire to too. So for yourself, actually, let me just throw it back at you. Um, Things that come up for me is you're just humble, kind soul that
Appreciate that.
has this creative expression that no matter what you touch, whether it's photography, I feel like I haven't seen you play an instrument, but I feel if I give you one, you somehow figure it out. I feel like you're just a guy that just get your hands dirty kind of guy and you just get shit done, and whatever creative expression you could come up with, it could be even fucking like rock building on the river, like, making freaking sculptures. And I'm sure you kick ass because I think honestly, I think you've been through some adversity from what I've followed and from what we talked about. And, and somehow you're one of those souls that just continues to be kind in the world, although maybe the world hasn't always been kind to you. Um, and I feel that brings a lot of emotional intelligence and understanding to what humankind is. Hence, whatever you do, whether it's full-time photography or work, a 9 to 5, I feel that you just are an explorer that brings people with you to be kinder in this world. That's what I get out of Max.
I appreciate that. I try to
I
share
said
the
kind six
kindness.
times. I said six kind, but that's it. It's what it is. Even when I'm joking about myself as a Canadian with like, different things and stereotypes, you're like, well, we got to watch it. And that's your kindness coming out. Right. So I really appreciate that side of you.
How often does that happen where you're like, "Whoa, I got to catch myself. I'm being too Canadian stereotypes."
Never, other than, I'm a big advocate for making fun of oneself, right? So if it comes from, um, a part of my identity and who I am, I like to make fun of that, but not in a malicious way, just more of a, I think there's truth always in everything. And stereotypes unfortunately get out of hand. But it is a fact that we have a national animal called the beaver, and we are very much lovers of maple syrup. That's not a stereotype. That is so true, especially if you go to the French speaking part of Canada. So that's what I like about humor. Good humor, making fun of yourself is where comedy, I have an appreciation for it because it just shows the imperfection of really what humanity is, and that's where maybe segue to one thing I believe in is I stand for imperfection. I don't think anything's perfect. And if there's something that or someone that states that they are, I tend to stay away from that because that doesn't align with my values.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I mean, going to like thinking about like videos, is there ever such thing as a perfect video? It's like it's good enough to post and it's
Right.
done. Like,
Right. Unless you're an Apple commercial. Then you're
right.
okay.
Yeah, I think like I mean, you follow me on Instagram. I try to keep my stories and my posts like pretty more or less like in the moment. Or if I've gone on a trip, I probably won't post about it after like a week or two because it's like it's dead in the water. It's old. It's happened. I'm not trying to recycle old content and keep it going. And like you see that a lot on Instagram where people always look like they're on the move. And it's like, oh, well, I'm currently living in Utah right now. It's like, well, you're posting about being in Europe and over here and over here. Like, how authentic is this?
Right. You just create a library of everything over the years. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's the highlight reel, right? And that's maybe something I do watch for when I post. It's we're proud of a lot of things that we maybe go through in life, and we want to post that, obviously, but it's good to also post the imperfection and also even the bad. And I say bad lightly, right? Because I think everything everything that may seem bad in the moment is actually just a chapter where you'll just grow and be wiser, right? So I think
Yeah,
posting that shit is the real
this little
stuff.
speed bump. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Peaks and valleys. Peaks and valleys.
And I'm like, you see me sometimes. I'm just like, I go off the rails, and
Oh,
but
well, why not? Right? Like I think that's off the rails, right? If I understand correctly, it's just, just being your silly self and being you, and why not like that? Because there's obviously people that vibe with that. And why have the world not see that part of you? Because that
right,
uniqueness is special to you. But yeah, no, I really like it. And I call it the weirdness when I talk about myself. I think we're all weird, and weird as in a good way, weird as in unique. We could
exactly.
replace it with that. So just be more weird, be more unique, and not unique just to be this in the sake of being unique. Just be authentic, which is maybe my last word towards that. Authenticity brings that thing that a lot of people might find weird, and those are just not your people, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But to go back on your description on a lot of what you said about me and what I do, I think all of my side projects that we can get into, it's all about, for me, trying to be in service to others. And by doing that, sometimes you get some entrepreneurial little bug, and you find out that business is really about understanding people and being in service to people, whether it's a product or a service. And so whether it's the Rebels Cohort, or when we met on the Till Salmon Show, which was an Instagram series where I did 100 episodes of personal and professional development topics, that was adding value or a service to people where they can seek inspiration in their lives. So when Max spoke, I remember a few people reaching out to me and being like, who the hell's Max? Like, he's awesome. Like, I'm looking into getting into photography. I'm looking into, battling that imposter syndrome that I get once in a while. And then I kind of just went off with, getting as far as, I have one Airbnb, which was a 1970s vintage trailer that I rented out on my Canadian land. And then that grew into me asking permits from the city, buying some land, and building, now starting in June, this 15 glamping cabin retreat.
It's insane.
So it just kind of explodes from there, right? And when you talk about IKEA, that's my 9 to 5 that I've worked 12 years. Accidentally just got into it after the military, stocking boxes on a shelf. And the Swedish kind of everyone hugging each other, talking about values, and like, what's this cult that I joined? And then, soon after, finding out that this cult that I joined was really just this authentic people forward company. So I started learning and stealing a lot of the ideas of how to treat people in a leadership role, and how to take care of people, and reducing turnover because you're taking care of them, and then getting the most out of them, not by squeezing the juice out of them, but making them grow, and taking care of their wellness and their days off, which you get more out of them. And not because you're selfishly trying to gain at their loss, but the more they grow and benefit in their personal life, the more the company does. And I think a lot of companies have it wrong, where they think it's the opposite, where you have to like squeeze it out, and no sick days and no days off. And it's totally the opposite, So I
Right, right.
apply that in my day and my future life with my business, hopefully. So
That's crazy. So you're in the military.
and then I did so after high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I joined the reserves in Brockville,
Nice.
Ontario. And I was like, cool, like, you clothe me, you feed me, I get to shoot targets. This is awesome. Until like 3 years in, I was like, I got to go to war. Like, what the fuck? No. And it's not disrespectful. I really, honor and really much appreciate the military service that's out there to protect our countries. But for me, I'm not a violent guy. I can't really shoot much in life and not sleep at night. So I left right before the war thing came up for me. 3 years in, it was up, and I I pursued a few jobs, and one of those was IKEA. I was like, cool, like, simple job. And 12 years in, I traveled the world and got to speak.
Amazing.
So yeah, to different
Thanks.
countries.
And here you are now on the episode 1 of this
This is the
podcast.
peak of my career, man. Peak of my freaking career. And I say that with no sarcasm, to be honest, because, these are the kind of things I live for. It's genuine conversations with friends. So yeah, man,
So just a good segue then is, how do you manage all your time?
it's a shit show. um, it's a priority matrix is like the political term, like, or the right term. It's at night I reflect on my day, I reflect on my week, and I'm a guy that carries these field notes, like these little notebooks, and I kind of just jot down with no really rhyme or reason, but just point form. This is what I want to do this week. This is what I'll do today or tomorrow, and then the next morning is the today a conversation. It's like, okay, well, what stuck from last night? Oh, I know what, I slept on it. I don't need to do that. So there's a lot of reflection. But by doing so much, there's obviously imperfection in that. There's times where I haven't gone to my daughter's thing, or I haven't been able to, commit to that podcast thing that I wanted to do. Or this project, this cabin business was supposed to launch 8 months ago, and now it's, finally taken off. So, I mean, none of it's going to be perfect. And I think focus is the biggest thing that I'm trying to master.
Right.
But I know for myself, I get bored if there's no chaos. So I almost create it for myself. So that's a
Absolutely.
long-winded answer. It's like, I write shit down. I try to make it happen. But for some reason, I got this dark side where it's not chaotic. I get bored.
You're right. And you're
So
laying there and there's like a stillness. You're like, wait, everything is going so smoothly.
yeah,
What? Something's going to happen then. I'm just waiting.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. I hate waiting. I hate it. It's just not, it's just, I got to always be moving. And therefore, I think that's why I create different things. Like I have 2 podcasts as well. I have one called the Unstuck podcast. I do it with a friend in Switzerland that I've known for a few years. I have this new podcast I just launched, ironically, today called, my God, I can't even think of it. Not Quite My Tempo. There you go. That's the Not Quite My Tempo. And it's just my buddy, my Horrig and myself in Finland, where we just talk about an album that we choose each week. And that's just another podcast that I started today that I haven't told my significant other, because she always sees I have too many projects. So, until she asks, I don't have to say anything.
I'm a big proponent too of like making to-do lists and like writing things down and checking boxes. And I think like the one thing I've learned and like grown to appreciate is it's okay if you don't check all the boxes for the day. There's other days, like as long as you check some and just like you're moving down the list,
I love
it's
it, Max.
okay. It's all gonna be okay.
Right. Right. As long as you're checking them off. I think that's the key goal. I like it.
And then it also like then you can like you're saying at night, you're like, do I really need to do that? It kind of gives you a little time to evaluate and
Sleep
I
on
don't
it.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So then what's the first thing you do? How do you wake up? Like what does your morning look like?
As of 2 months ago, my life changed. I have a baby daughter, Charlotte, that's 2 months old. So now it's and I work from home in my 9 to 5. So I'm able
Nice.
to, yeah, really just slowly wake up with my daughter. I'm usually laying on me because by the end of the night she's cranky and stuff, and I'm trying to get mom to sleep. So I actually I'm freaking tired, but I am so happy waking up with this little baby new girl on me, just sleeping peacefully. So that's a cool way to wake up. And then I go straight to coffee. I'm dehydrated, I know, but I kind of just need my coffee, and then drink the water. And then after that, it's just going back to that checklist, right? What do I need to do? And I tend to tackle maybe um I used to tackle the most difficult thing on the list, but now I found out it wasn't sustainable for me. I want to be inspired. So I actually tackled the most inspiring thing on the list for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you ever the kind of person to like exercise to try to get like the creative juices flowing? Like sometimes a nice walk helps.
Yeah. No, I want to get definitely the exercise back into the routine. I used to be a runner. And then for the first time in 2 years, I started running again this month for this
Nice.
fundraiser that's going on. So I've been running a couple kilometers to 5 kilometers every second or third day. Is that going to be sustainable? I don't know, because I haven't really found how to build that habit in my life in the last couple of years with, COVID, and now getting out of that the last year. So yeah, I'm inspired to, man.
And they say like it takes what, 2 weeks to build a habit?
It's like depends on the book. 2 weeks, 30
It's on the
days.
book.
Depends on the self-help book. Yeah. Every self-help book tells you their gospel fact. But you definitely need consistency, right?
Right.
And yeah, so it's interesting. So no, I think the only activity I have is, if I feel like going for a walk, I go for a walk, whether it's 11 o'clock at night or yeah, if I have time in the morning.
That's funny that you mentioned that you're like training, I guess, for lack of a better word, for a fundraiser. Because I didn't
Mhm.
really run that much, but then my buddy's like, "Hey, sign up for this ultra marathon," and then had something to like work for or an event that I was like, "Well, I don't want to not finish this."
Right.
Did the
Yeah,
race.
yeah.
My running went fully downhill. I completed my 200-mile goal for the year. And I was like, all right, check
All
that
right.
box.
Right. I think
I
you and
like,
I are similar, right? We like the box checking. I like that, and if it's 365 days that, run every day and that's a box, I'd have a hard time making that a box, but
yeah,
that might be a better chance for me doing that.
I'd miss a few days and just it would all be over from there.
Right. Right. I completely agree.
Well, you mentioned field notes,
Yeah,
and
man.
I know we're both. I think one thing we connected over is that we're both fan of the Neistat brothers,
Totally.
and I just want to know, like, I think that's something you probably carry every day. But is there something else that you carry that like one of them might carry, or that's like slightly
Mm,
inspired by them?
mm. I wish I had it in my pocket right now. Like I have some Leatherman multi-tools that like I just bought like a couple tiny micro ones. I get those, like I'm obsessed with those multi-tools because you never know when you're stuck somewhere
Right.
it seems like nothing, but having a screwdriver when you need it, having a toothpick, having a pair of pliers, like there's so many times my daughter's had like a piece of wood stuck in her hand, or
Oh God.
you needed like that thing out of your teeth, or like something's loose on the vehicle and you just need that screwdriver. Like it's just an invaluable tool, and I think your hands could only do so much, so why
Right,
not kind
right.
of build a transformer out of it by just placing one in your pocket.
Right. And they're not that heavy nowadays, so it's not like weighing down your
Right.
pants and stuff.
Not a tool belt. Like, yeah. So I've been doing that. Another thing I've started doing, my girlfriend thought, oh, that's a little odd. I'm like, it must be the Neistat effect. I'll call it the Neistat effect. I found these like Altoid tins, like the mints that were empty. I can never throw those away because they're just cool. And it's such a hoarding like habit. I don't know where it came from, but I think it's a Neistat thing. And I think I saw a video with the Mr. Spirited Man, and he's like keep a toolkit in everything. Don't switch things from one vehicle to another. So I'm not at that level where I have a full toolkit for like the car and that stays in that car. But my Altoids tin, I did put like a lighter, a $20 bill, I think some like Tylenol, some band-aids, and I have now an Altoids tin in each vehicle.
That's awesome though.
This mini little survival kit, right? Some fishing, yarn, whatever. And I just add to it. And then one day, if you ever need anything, you're out of cash, your wallet got stolen, you got this little Altoids tin, right? You need a fire, you got a couple matches.
Right,
So
right.
that's another weird nice stat thing maybe I picked up.
And it looks so nonchalantly too in your glove box or whatever. Just oh, it's
Yeah.
Altoids, nothing
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Someone's gonna come steal into your car, and it's like don't, and if someone steals your mints, like they're really desperate, right? So guys, keep your Altoids tin and put a survival kit in there. You never know.
That is a great. I'm gonna have to build one of those before I do. In my Jeep, I have like a, I don't know, kind of like a to-go duffel bag, like yay big,
Right?
and I just keep like jumper cables, ratchet straps, like a few
Smart.
hand tools. I try to keep all my strapping stuff together as best as I
Okay.
can.
You're always saving someone. I'm watching your Instagrams. You're going off-roading and there's always someone stuck. And I'm like, Max, saving the day again. Saving the day again.
I get such a kick out of that too. It was back in 2017 I got hurt as a firefighter, herniated disc in my lower back.
Oh my
And
God,
I
man.
the Ford Ranger I had, it ended up losing one of the cylinders from driving to the doctor's appointments. So I was basically out of a vehicle. And then the stereo shop in town was selling that Jeep. And I was like, well, hell yeah, like I love
Right.
off-roading. Buy the Jeep. And then in a few months or like a month or so later, I ended up getting put on permanent disability. So I'm just at home the whole time, with like nothing to do, just feeling like pretty down on myself. And we lived like 40 minutes from the sand dunes. I don't know if you've seen that, but
I
pretty
did.
famous.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty badass.
Everyone always gets stuck out there. So I got a tow strap and just got super bored and would just go hang out there for the day and just drive around on the beach looking for people that were stuck and just pull them out for free
You go.
just because I
Kind
wanted to do
soul.
something.
Kind soul again. He's like Max gets bored. What does he want to do? Spread kindness. See, that's another example, guys. Spread kindness. Okay. You got nothing to do. Max could be eating pizza, gaming all day, feeling sorry for himself. Nope. He goes out and saves people. Like another reason why I love you.
No, I do that, and then someone calls me and they're
I'm
like,
gonna
"Hey,
say,
I'm
don't do
stuck."
that. I'm gonna say, don't do that. It's not the only thing you do.
It's funny. The girl, I don't know if she's like my girlfriend. We haven't like made that official yet,
Got it.
but we've
In
been hanging
between.
out and going on trips and stuff. And we went to Australia, Arizona
Whoa.
recently. I know, big trip.
Yeah. Arizona. I've been there. That's amazing.
Right. Yeah, I love that state.
Yeah.
So we're out there
Oh,
in the side by sides, and we go in the middle of freaking nowhere, where there's like an old abandoned mine, and there's these four old people that are in two of their own side by sides, and they're like waving, and I like wave back, and we drive by, and I look again, and they're like waving, and I was like, all right, let's turn around. So I go back, and they end up being lost and looking for something. But to make a long story short, the girl was like, I wouldn't have stopped. I would have just kept on going. Like, you're always so kind and you always stop and help people. And I'm just like, yeah, I mean, if you were out here in the middle of nowhere and then someone randomly came by, you would do everything you could to stop them too. It's
yeah.
like, here I am.
Yeah,
And it's
putting
funny.
yourself in other people's shoes. That's a basic lesson that we try to teach kids, right? But it's so rare these days because I don't know, the world is very unkind as well sometimes, and it's hard to trust. I think trust is tough. So to stop for someone, are they really needing help, or is this a scam, or is this
Right.
because you hear all the horrible stories? And I think what's great is that you don't let those scary stories, judge your best of decision making, right? So it's
I'm big on trusting your gut.
yeah,
You
right.
can feel it pretty quickly if like people are sketchy or not. And then,
Yeah, then maybe don't do it. Yeah.
right. But it played
So
out that we got them to where they wanted to go. And then they shared a bunch of beer with us. We chatted it up for a while and it was
man,
pretty cool.
best transaction in the world, right? A couple
Right.
beers.
Like no cash, just beer.
Right. Right. Love it, man.
So then I guess you did mention that you're a little inspired by the nice stats. Who else
Mm.
inspires you creatively?
Wow. Well, before, the Nice Step Brothers for sure were huge, but um when I first heard Jimi Hendrix at 12, 13 years old, I was like, oh shit, who's that guy? What is that?
What is this?
And what is this music? What is this guitar playing? And also he gave you this confidence. Like, I'm not saying he's a shit vocalist, he's actually decent. But he gave you this confidence to say, like, of course, the chops help when you play guitar like Jimi Hendrix, but I don't know, something about the simplicity of the vocals with the complexity of the riffs that you could also dumb down for a beginner guitarist. Playing those bar chords with the thumb, like basically breaking the rules of what I was taught on my one and only guitar lesson because I was bored of that first lesson. I was like, fuck, I'm not playing this, but I wanted to get girls. I was like guitar for some reason. I was the weird kid. I was the geek. I was the guy that had the crooked teeth, and we grew up really poor, so I had the shittiest clothes, like no self confidence. And yeah, to answer your question about creativity, like Jimi Hendrix was huge for me. So I'd start with the beginning, and then Angus Young from AC/DC. I was like, that guy's having a fit in a schoolboy suit on stage in front of thousands of people, and everyone loves it. And I'm like, what am I scared of in this world of being that like weird per se? Going back to that weird comment, it's just be yourself. And for Angus Young from ACDC, it was like schoolboy outfit, sure. And it was actually, I think, his real uniform at the time when he started ACDC in the days in
Oh,
Australia.
crazy.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
he just kept it on because why not? Like, well, 16 years old playing guitar and just fuck you, I'm going to play rock and roll because that was against the school policy.
Wow.
So yeah, so definitely music, and then that just grew with other musicians, right? Like from Nirvana to, listening to Johnny Cash, especially the Rick Rubin produced stuff. Like holy shit. So music definitely is a huge part of my creative exploitation, exploration, and and then outside of music, yeah, the Nice Tap Brothers was huge, but getting into it's weird. It's not really a person, but I used to have this job when I got out of the military too. I got 3 jobs, and one of them was this magazine company of like filling the shelves at these pharmacies, and I had access to get any magazine that I wanted once they expired off the rack. I
Oh,
take
very
whatever I
cool.
want. So I got into like Money Sense and all these different financial magazines, and I started reading up about how money works. Um, so how to invest, how to look at money in a different way, how to look at debt in a different way, because we were told that it's horrible, and most of it is, but some of it's fantastic. So that inspired me too to kind of put creativity with understanding how money works, because it's hard to be creative when you're hungry and you can't pay the bills. Um, so those are the two things that I think make Mike. It's understanding this capitalist life that we're in and getting inspired by those magazines I read since I was like 17. Um, and then being inspired by those creative starving artists.
I mean, I think that kind of circles back to what you were saying initially about like the service to other people.
Mm,
And I think like it seems like you get more of a value from that than you do from the monetary side of it.
yep.
But you also need to pay the bills too. It's like there's
Or
such a
reinvest in
balance.
the, yeah, pay the bills, but then also like, so most of what I do doesn't, like my 9 to 5, I keep it because I want to keep my projects as far from charging people, if that makes any sense. Like I want to just pay my bills. So I work the 9 to 5. And one day I'll leave the 9 to 5 because eventually you don't have to work the 9 to 5 anymore because something takes off and you just can't
Right.
help it. I would say that's real estate per se. That's going to be my exit strategy for sure. That was unforeseen. But now with, let's say, the Rebels cohort, like um, I have that monthly happening right now. And I was told like charge more, charge more, charge more. And I'm like, I'm not going to charge more, because usually a cohort, I was part of cohorts that of people I looked up to, and it was started at like $80 a month, $250 a month. And I did join them, and I got some value that actually got my money back. But I feel like definitely not everyone can afford that, especially me back when, it's a lot of days of my life. So the Rebels cohort for me is, how do I get people on a subscription to pay something that where they feel a need to show up? Um, because there's something leaving. It's almost like when you order something, you don't quite like it, but because you paid for it, you'll finish it anyways. Like it's that accountability, right? And the cohort is
Right.
all about that, is accountability towards your goals and what you do. So something like that is where I think I really feel I get the most value out of, because it's not the money. I reinvested in merch and giveaways. What I get psyched about is someone coming back to the court a month or two later and saying, Mike, I got my client finally, or Mike, I was able to triple my revenue in graphic design. And I'm just like, shit, that's awesome. And it's not because I'm a guru. What I do there is I facilitate. So what I do is I ask questions with curiosity, and then I use the collective intelligence in a room. So there might be a guy in Finland that could help the guy in San Francisco, and that's really cool. And I'll try to spark that conversation to happen. And if I could use some of my journey and my success stories to help others, then why not? I think everyone can get paid for what they want to do in life. And sometimes it's just a matter of your circle of people you hang out with. And if you can't, then there's a Rebels cohort waiting for them, so.
That's beautiful. I, this is like a question that I had when I was actually on a walk. And this is perfect because I struggle with this in like my life. I'm the only person that I really know that's like actively pushing out videos, actively wanting to film like different video ideas. I have some like pretty good photographer friends here, but when it comes to videos, they're like, I only do photos.
Right.
But I have a lot of like online friends that I can, vibe with and talk. And
Mm-hmm.
but it would be nice to have more people like in real life that I can
Mm-hmm.
like really nerd out with. Like, do you have
Yeah.
any of those in
Yeah.
real life for you?
Um, in real life, face to face. Today, I have a friend on the Montreal Island that owns a production studio that does a lot
Nice.
of film work. Yeah, he used to be a store manager at Home Depot and had an exit strategy for the last 15 years and built this film studio. And now he does commercials and big production work. Stefan, he's amazing. So, he's maybe the only person that I know that went literally the extreme of where you can go with video, green screen production, all that shit. So he's really hitting it big with a multi-million-dollar building right now.
Amazing.
But that's the extreme of what I have, up to like I don't have anyone else that's really in video in my life other than in the cohort. I have a couple of people that do video production, and are fantastic at it, whether it's YouTube or doing client work for companies. There's a couple in the cohort that humbly get into, facilitate on a Monday morning and go, hey, like, inspire me too, right? Because I'm not a guru. That's the big thing I say. It's like the cohort's not about the Mike Liberty way. It's like about, let's just be a bunch of rebellious, weird souls and just talk shit out about how we can do better. And the video people are always inspiring me. I'm like, oh, cool. Thanks for that tip,
Right. I would love to
Yeah.
be there. I just wish it wasn't. I,
Oh,
you sent me a
5. I'm gonna
text.
open 5. I'm gonna open 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock on my time, which is 3 hours different. So that'll be what? That's later for you. That's all I could say. It's later for you. What
So
is it?
you're
Three,
is
2?
Monday nights going to PM again, or
So it's going to
going to
go,
PM?
I'll keep the morning because that's the thing that I'm struggling with is time zones. So now what's one call a week from everyone? Some people tend to do 2 sometimes, but I do it twice a week AM, and now I'm opening up the PM slots because now, yeah, further West Coast, I need
The
to
dang
go with
West
the PM
Coasters.
slots. And I'm cool with that, right? I'm humbled. It was just a matter of like, based on who's signing up, why would I show up on a call at 5 when no one's going to show up, right? So no, I have a couple of people struggling with that, including, potential people like yourself, right? Friends like you. So I'll open the slot, no pressure, but it's fun. It's fun.
Right. I don't know if we could say. I'm obviously this is my first one, so I don't know how many names we can say, but I know one of the artists. I'm
Yeah,
trying to tread lightly here. One
sure.
of the artists lives in Oregon, right?
Yeah, Nicole. Yeah. Yeah, we could say it. She's pretty cool. She's one of my actually we became friends like fairly quickly because of Till Salmon Show. And that's another thing too, is when you start working and being creative in different things and different projects, whether they succeed or they fail, there's one thing that you get out of each failure or success, I think, is relationships. Right. And I think it's
Yep.
how you treat. So if you treat each failure as a learning, as that's cliche and everyone gets, not everyone does, but yeah, I hope they do eventually. There's one thing you can do is build relationships. I think IKEA taught me that. There's tons of projects and money thrown at things and it just doesn't stick like the spaghetti to the wall sometimes. But man, the relationships you can build at the end of the day, whether you speak Swedish, Finnish, Japanese, it doesn't matter. Like if one thing I've learned in that company, it's that we're all fucking the same. We all are seeking connection. We're all seeking to succeed. And I don't mean monetarily only, right? I mean like just in life and what you want to do, whatever feeds the soul. So, but yeah, going back to Nicole, like she's a creative artist that's been amazing on a personal and professional journey. And I look up to her so much. And, when she joins the cohort, she's one of those people that inspire others as much as possible. And that's my goal. It's just to get everyone to shine. And I'm just the referee in the group, so making sure there's no assholes that come in to ruin to ruin the moment, So
You definitely inspire me, and I always get super jazzed when I see like a DM from you or something, just a little like encouragement here and there. It's like,
oh
oh,
man.
thanks, Mike.
Oh, I mean, I think to me it's genuine. It's genuine to think, and it's maybe dark when I give this example, but I think, if you're on your deathbed one day, because we're all going to lose our health eventually, health isn't forever. What's the thing that I really wanted to, what would I regret? Well, I would regret seeing something that inspires me and not saying something,
Right.
or seeing a friend, especially doing some cool shit and saying, oh, I could always tell him later. Right. Like, why not take the time now? Right. When Max is reaching out to you saying like, Mike, I'm excited. I'm starting a podcast. Like, fuck, I'll make it happen. Like, yeah, I got a new baby. Yeah, life is busy. Yes, I got like 5,000 boxes not checked, but I'm going to fucking find a spot for Max because Max is one of those guys where I'll make sure to make time for it, and that's what life's about. It's just seeking those valuable connections that you're inspired to and just making time for it. So those DMs, I'm glad that they do something for you because I genuinely feel that when I say it, or if I don't have time, I'll at least put an emoji.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I'm big on like, I think it's important to compliment your friends. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if they're dudes, girls, whatever. Just
Right.
give your bro some love. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with that.
Raise people up, you know? Yeah. Yeah. So I've got a failed marriage in my life. And I mean, if one thing I've
Cheers to
learned,
that, brother.
yeah, cheers to that. And and it's not to get into that for sure between you and I for both of our sakes, but I think for me, it's the learning I got from that is it's just so important to, for me particularly, like I had a jealous type in my life, and that came from her own demons, and I respect the fact that she's on that journey to heal those things, right? So no disrespect to that, but for me, like that was so important in my next chapter, right? Just to say to someone like, she's, Catherine's very understanding, and she's like, oh, like I've seen that compliment, I've seen that, and she's I'm so honest and open to her to be like, if I'm with someone, compliments remain just compliments, and that's it, right? It's never for more, and I think if you got that open and transparency in your life, whether it's your significant other or, you know, out, even at work professionally, there's competition. And, I'm all about celebrating even the adversity of competition, right? To say like, if they win, we win, because at the end of the day, if they win, I got to figure out how to be better.
Right,
Um,
right.
so it's just raise people up, even if it's the opponent, because it's just going to make you better. So,
Well, that's one thing,
yeah.
like, I think I'm kind of dealing with a little bit, not dealing with,
Sure.
maybe just like personally dealing
Experiencing.
with. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like trying to like date or like find a girlfriend. And most of my friends are girls. Like we have this like circle, like the crew, it's an off-road crew where we meet up and we go off-roading. And most of them are girls. Like there's like 4 or 5 dudes to 7 or 8, 9 girls, right?
Okay.
And we're all just super close. They're like sisters.
Right.
Just like we have like one rule in the cruise. We're not hooking up with anyone because it
Yeah.
just makes the dynamics just awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
the funny part, I guess. Funny? I don't know if that's the right word, but
I understand the expression. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, right, right. Is like they are all attractive women. There's
Right.
no doubt about it. They're all hot.
Max, what did you do? What did you do? You can't make fun. You make friends with all the hot girls. Come
I,
on.
I'm the cool kid now at the table,
That's right. That's right.
but I'm not like attracted to them, if that's the right word.
Yeah, I think you could find people beautiful without feeling attraction, right? Like I think attraction is bigger than just looks, right? So I get it. I get it if that makes any sense.
Right, right. So then when I come with like a girl that I'm actually interested in and I introduce her to the crew, she's like, kind of like, oh, who are all these girls you hang out with and talk to?
Yeah.
It's like they're just friends. Like I don't know
Yeah.
why guys and girls can't just be
Yeah.
friends without any kind of sexual attention, for
Yeah.
lack of a better
Unfortunately,
word.
I think everyone's got demons, right? They got previous experiences where that was a red flag. So then, I think if I know you, or I think, my gut says, talking back on gut, like what Max is he wears his heart on his sleeve. Like just get to know Max and you'll know this isn't a threat, or, Barbara or Lara or whoever wants to be with Max,
Did you see that video I posted about this lady named Barbara in our town? She's like 70 or 80 years old
Really?
and she
How did I
does
miss it?
music.
Yeah.
Can I think I could pull it up here.
Can you pull it up? I'm trying to see.
Jamie, can you pull up?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, do your Joe Rogan. Is it Joe Rogan you were referencing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Jamie, can you put the video up? One day, Max. One day, AI will do that for you.
Oh, dude, we need
That's
to.
another. I know that's
Can we
another
put a pin in
episode.
that one?
Yeah, I know, huh? Mike, you just opened a can of worms.
I absolutely love Chat GTP.
I love it to a point where I tell people by mistake, because and I say mistake because they get fearful to me. They're like, Mike, what do you mean you opened it? I'm like I'm not exploding my computer. Like, what do you know about Mike? He's going to take over the world. Our jobs are at stake. I'm like, God, guys. Anyways, I got to shut up more about it because I'm scaring people with it.
Let's see if I am fancy enough to do this. Oh, here we go.
Oh yeah.
This is Barbara.
Think of a request. Let this help you.
Let's restart. Here we go.
Yeah, yeah. Can you share the audio? It's hard out sometimes. Okay. Hey, how about for all your? Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I would like Barbara is like boss. She's the goat. Like Sweet Caroline, some Neil Diamond. Like, oh man, she'd be just.
She knows all the songs.
She knows all the songs. She's a walking jukebox. Like, oh yeah, I'm so glad you showed that again. When I saw that, I was like in awe of such talent. Like, just to get live music like that at a single multi-instrumentalist like Barbara, that's pretty rare these days, because a DJ could show up with his little kit $100 off Amazon, and an expensive laptop. But yeah, Barbara's this shit. That's awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's take a quick pause. I'm gonna grab a new beer really quick.
Let's do it.
But then I want to talk about more of that kind of stuff.
Let's do
Just
it,
give me
man.
like 2 minutes or so.
Likewise. All
And
right.
we're back.
We're back.
Same brew or different brew?
Oh my God. It's just the same freaking beer. I just got 2 cans of the same stuff. Yeah. No, I'm looking forward. I think my girlfriend's out. I asked her to pick up a couple more things. Actually, I'm going to ask her right now. She just got back. Catherine, as-tu d'autres bières? As-tu pu aller chercher d'autres bières?
Wait a second.
No, she didn't, she forgot.
I've been to Canada.
Yeah.
Humble brag, you know.
Right. Next time you'll come over to my place, but whatever. We'll talk about that another time.
But I've only been to Alberta.
Sure.
And like, it's
west of Canada.
I'm drawing it backwards here. Hopefully it's
right.
Right
Going west. Going west from Alberta.
East though.
Oh, east from Alberta. Okay, got it.
So like where Glacier National Park would be.
Like near, still in Alberta province. It's not Manitoba. It's not Manitoba.
Have you ever seen this is a total sidetrack, really a quick detour. But have you ever seen the videos where it shows like testing Americans in geology or
Oh yeah,
geography?
That's not good.
Terrible.
That's a terrible. Yeah. No, it's not a.
Well, but on this road trip, we went up from California all the way up to Washington into Alberta over
Saskatchewan.
Maybe.
Like if you go east from Alberta, you're going through Saskatchewan, then you get to Manitoba. Our provinces, states-ish for the Americans listening, our provinces are huge, right? Like it takes days sometimes to get through. But yeah, but the beauty. Okay, maybe you went to British Columbia West, because that's if you're talking about national parks like British Columbia, you said it's Glacier.
Yeah, and like this Prince of Wales palace, or I'll send you the photos afterwards.
Yeah, send me the photos. We'll get through it. But like what's beautiful, like honestly, I'm not hating on Saskatchewan, but it's just wheat farms everywhere. It's flat. You could actually see the best sunsets because everything's 180 degrees. That's the best that's going on in Saskatchewan. It's agricultural land. Manitoba is the same thing. But Alberta is mountain. It's got the Rockies. It's mountainous. It's got tons of national parks that are just some of the best in Canada. And then you got British Columbia, which is majestic as much. I don't like one or the other better, but Alberta and British Columbia. I mean, a lot of people think of Canada and they're the pictures, and it's definitely from those two provinces. Where I live in Quebec, Canada, which is the only French-speaking province in Canada. That's why
okay. So French that was my question.
So I was speaking to Catherine, my girlfriend, who's from Three Rivers, which is a town north of Montreal, near Quebec City, which is Quebec is Nouvelle France. It's New France, so it's actually older than Canada, the French-speaking part, because it came from France back. I don't know my history really well, 1800s, 1700s. I would say 1600s actually. Actually, I'll ask my Quebec girlfriend, Catherine. Le Québec est fondé quand? En 1600, 1600 ou 1700? 1634? There you go. She's very patriotic for Quebec French. It's 1634. So it's pretty freaking old.
Why does the French language just sound like so much more beautiful than anything else?
That's the only advantage they have, honestly. I think they're very opinionated and forward going in what they believe in, and it seems like beautiful and calm when you listen to it. But my God, I think the reason why Canada's got so much upside on different things like healthcare and all that is because of the French speaking demands of that culture. They're very specific on like being family oriented, like even Christmas, how I celebrate Christmas. Before my divorce, like my first marriage, Anglophone, right? Canadian. Christmas is like close family, 5-8 people. Quebec, you're in a kitchen with 40 people and you're singing songs and you're just celebrating life.
It sounds amazing.
It's a very European like influence. Yeah.
Now we're just spiraling down the rabbit hole.
You know what? This podcast, especially with Mike, I don't know what's his future friends for Max on this podcast, but for me, I'm very much a Venn diagram. It's like we'll go to this bubble for a while, we'll come back to this bubble, and we'll just hopefully tie we'll tie it all together at the end.
Do the Europeans own Hallmark? Because the whole thing you just described sounds like your stereotypical Hallmark movie, and it's beautiful.
Oh, it's weird. So Christmas, I meet my girlfriend. I moved for a promotion with IKEA in French speaking Montreal. I haven't spoken French in 22 years. I thought I lost it, and then you realize up to 8 years old, you actually retain a lot of what you learned. Um,
Interesting.
but anyways, yeah. So grew up English after 8 years old, and long story short, I start dating this wonderful woman. Meet her family. Then Christmas comes along. She's like, "Do you want to go to this cabin?" And I'm like, and this is your hallmark point here. I'm like, what do you mean this cabin? Like, are we going to your dad's house, like for dinner, like normal people? No, no, no. For 32 years, they've been renting this cabin on her dad's side on this lake called Beaver Lake. I'm not fucking with you. Beaver Lake. And it's up north with no cell reception. And it's just a huge cabin with 12 rooms, but there's 85 people in this family. So these 12 rooms are rented by like the elite of the people that have been there the longest. And then there's these small cabins outside of this place. It's a children's camp in the summer. So in the winter, the lake is frozen. It's an ice rink, and there's a jam session in this on the side of the living room of this place. So we jam till 2 o'clock in the morning, anything and
Amazing.
everything, and we're just doing a potluck kind of thing, and we're eating. And it doesn't stop there. Then in the New Year's, we do the mom's side, and it's called Heart Lake. And it's a lake that's in the shape of a heart. I'm not kidding with you. I wish I was, because you said Hallmark, and it's such a Hallmark Netflix shitty Christmas movie where it's the same thing, but with their mom's side. And it's like it's a very French Canadian thing of investing in family and celebration. Yeah.
That sounds beautiful.
So I say that because you said Hallmark, so I had to add to it.
We have something like that kind of here. It's called
Yeah.
Hume Lake, but
Okay.
it's I'm not knocking on religion. I'm
No,
whatever. Right.
Mr. Kindness here. I know.
Mr. Kindness. But it's owned by it's a Christian camp.
Okay.
So kids will go there for Christmas, like wintertime and summertime. And I've been there once. I never again. Not
Poor
for me.
Max. Not for you, exactly.
You pray 3 times a day before every meal. You go to church services twice a day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a lot. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
Not your thing. Not your thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up Catholic through my dad's new marriage, which was a stepmother, and they were very religious. East Coast of New Brunswick, and I was an altar boy, and I sang, and I did my first communion, and I did all that shit. And I'm not shitting on Christianity. I can't even say it anymore. But it's just not my drive. Like, to me, it's that's another podcast, maybe episode. But I think kindness is my religion. I don't know. I'll join your cult. Kindness.
Right? Like
Yeah.
I don't know what I really believe in, but when I had a step grandma at the end of my grandpa passed away in like 2009
Okay.
ish. Right? He remarried, had a step grandma, and we hung out for a few years afterwards before she moved to Bakersfield. It's funny. I feel like this is getting so many sidetracks, but tell me if this stereotype's true. But like all of Californians just kind of use like landmarks and highways as references, and like I'm automatically assuming you know where Bakersfield is. Like, oh yeah, she just moved to Bakersfield.
I assumed it's a place in California, so I'm with you, bud. I'm with you, man.
But so she would always say that she's like, you don't need four walls to talk to God, and I was like, you know what? That's a great point. Like,
yeah.
Now we're diving into religion here.
Yeah. But I think that's what I like about the conversation. I think there's scripted questions, but I think let's take it where we go with it. I think if we're drinking beers and we're really talking, this is what it looks like, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, the theme remains the same, right? What do we believe in? What do we stand for? What are we exploring? What are we curious about? That's the shit that I think most people look for in a podcast, right?
Mm-hmm. So one question that I had before we took a break to get more beer is, totally. Do you believe in like creative enhancers?
General term for me. What
that's a pretty, like, I'm pretty generalizing here.
what give me examples.
So like I haven't really looked into like the drug laws up over in Canada, but
it's a free for all out here.
Is it really?
No.
Oh. Like here in California, like weed's legal.
Yep.
I think we're going to decriminalize mushrooms here in the next couple of years.
I invested in a psychedelic company. Yeah. So that's what you mean. Okay.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
kind of some stuff to help boost the
Yeah,
creativity.
sure. I'd be a hypocrite to tell you I haven't had to be honest, I have had weed maybe for the first time 4 years ago.
Holy
When it
smokes.
was yeah, when it was legal. Because I grew up with parents that had some heavy depression, and I had some friends that were also overusing a lot of these things. I think weed is okay. I think weed doesn't, you can't really go too far with it. But there's other things you can go too far if you don't really take care of yourself. So and then I started seeing like some of my friends that were selling the weed that were mixing it with stuff. So, if it was the 70s and even early 80s, I'd feel like maybe I would have gotten into it sooner, without fear, just to be curious. But just growing up, I just saw too many things being manipulated, so I never did. And then when became legal and controlled, I felt I knew what I was buying. You know, so I've been on a couple of trips, especially on vacations, where I just kind of wanted to, just try things, and I'm not having to work and be somewhere. So I tried some weed, and to be honest, I tried different kinds, and it didn't do anything for me, which I was disappointed about. Hence, I'm still curious to try it again on and be shown maybe, so I can get the high that people talk about, because I smoked a lot and it just didn't do anything.
Interesting.
Psychedelics I haven't tried yet, again because I feel I want to control them. I want to know what I'm buying. I think it's hard. Maybe, if I had a trusting friend that understood what they were doing, I'd maybe try. But again, I want it to be controlled. So long story short, I do believe in it because the Beatles and a lot of different artists that I looked up to did try it. And I think back then it was safer. Um, so I did invest in this company called MindMed, where I did make a lot of money actually, because of the asshole in Dragon's Den, Kevin O'Leary. He's a Canadian investor, multi-$100 million over,
Wait, this
rich
is the same
guy.
guy from like the 911 show, or what was
Maybe, I don't know. He's all over the place. But Kevin O'Leary started talking about this MindMed company he invested in, and it was in his stuff that I followed because of my going back to my magazines. I followed this guy for a while, and he grew to be this television, Shark Tank, Dragon's Dead guy. So anyways, he talked about this up and coming psychedelic company, and there you go, there he is.
this guy?
And
No way.
yeah. So I followed him for a while because he's very straight to the point on making money. He's not really much a people focused guy, which is against my values. But he talked about psychedelics, MindMed, and I got into it at $1 or $2 a share. And now it's down. Like, it just crashed with the rest of the market the last year or two. But back in 2000, and I want to say 20, I invested in this company. And Max, I'm not even kidding. Like, the thing went tenfold. And I told some friends to get into it. They made some money. I also told them this could be a complete shit show. So put money that you're willing to lose. But if you go into MindMed, it's a psychedelic company. I haven't pulled out. Like, I pulled out some money to get my money back.
Right.
But Mind Medicine is a psychedelic company that I believe in. They're not really great financially right now, but it's one of those things where if you invest in an Apple before it got maybe bankrupt, back in the 90s,
Yeah,
uh,
seriously.
you could have made some good money. So I thought to myself, we all buy an iPhone that's $1,000. Why not put $1,000 into a company? And that's
Hmm.
another thing that I've learned. So long story short, do I believe in enhancers? I've put my money where my mouth is. I've tried one enhancer. Maybe you could call alcohol an enhancer if you're smart about it. I don't drink to be creative, but I think it helped maybe in my teenage years when I want to get on stage playing music. But it could be, you know, difficult to get out of the alcoholic state if you go too far. So, my dad
Ooh,
had some
yeah.
problem with, and I think my dad helped me in a way indirectly because he had a hard time with alcohol. So, long story short, I'm careful about the enhancers like anything else, right? You could
There's a
pop a
fine
Tylenol.
line.
There's a fine line. You could pop a Tylenol once in a while, and that's not an enhancer, but I'm using this as a metaphor, right? You could pop a Tylenol once in a while, but if you're swallowing a bottle, your liver may not like it. So it's that's my long-winded rant to a yes to your question, but with some why behind it.
I remember like talking about like alcohol problems, like working at that brewery. You
Right?
would,
How can you say no? Like, you got it all the
yeah.
time.
We came up like we when I came up with this saying like sink it or drink it. When you would do a bad pour and it'd have all that head, you could just
Right.
let it chill for like a half hour or whatever, and it'd still be a drinkable beer. It's like, are you
Right.
just gonna pour this down the sink?
Right.
No, just slam it really quick.
Yeah. Or even start like predicting your samples for the next customer, right?
Yeah, right. You got to
Something
taste all
just
the
different.
beer.
Right. Yeah. No, I love beer, and it's one of those things where I know I have maybe not a gene, but I have some problems in my bloodline, grandfather, dad, like difficult time with the alcohol.
Yeah, same here.
So I'm not shaming the alcohol because and if I meet a recovering alcoholic, you know, I tend to question even my own self, but I think it's like anything, right? If you know yourself enough and you know you can control it, and no one could make that decision for you, so for me it's very much that. So it's yeah you know yeah
I
that
mean,
might change in
it's
the future, but for now I'm enjoying the alcohol.
right.
Yeah, just got this Porto. Actually, I didn't know what it was at the time. Went to Portugal in September last year, and
Nice.
Porto is an actual city in Portugal, and they have been manipulating this wine to become this sweet alcoholic drink, and got a couple bottles of that. And this, I love the culture and the history behind certain alcoholic beverages, or a brew, from a different brewery. Like there's just such a cool story behind it, and an art towards it. So I hope that I'm able to control my tendencies so I could continue to enjoy it, is where maybe my last answer to that.
It's tough because sometimes when the party starts, it's hard to want to end it. And
Right.
I'm definitely a victim of that.
Yeah. Yeah, likewise, right? So anyways, we get wiser as we get older, right?
So
Yeah, man.
let's talk about what you love about where you live, and then we'll
Yeah.
talk about what you want to change.
Wow. Where do I live? So I live on a
The photos you share are amazing.
oh, thanks, man.
Is that
Yeah,
lake with the
it's a
dock?
humble little spot. Yeah, it's I'll
Um,
send you a picture. I'll send you a picture, but it's yeah, it's a lake, a little lake north of Montreal, an hour away from the metropolitan. Um Lake Siesta, which I think is sleep or sleeping in Spanish. I'm not sure.
yeah.
I think yeah. So Lake Siesta, and it's yeah, it's just a little humble little lake in the woods. Now it's got like maybe 30, 40 residents around the lake.
What?
Yeah, yeah. And it used to be this little just cottage, right? That now it's four season insulated. So we moved from the Montreal island beginning of COVID out here when we bought it. And the idea to buy into it was to be close to the business that we're building for the last 3 years, which is the cabin retreat. Um, so yeah, so it's working from home. I used to work in the city, used to commute from the city to this cottage, our house now. And then I got a transfer and a promotion to work for head office, and so I get to work from home, do my 9 to 5, clock out, and start working on my side hustle and be there with my family. So mornings is it's dedicated to the cohort, so I could help develop and facilitate goals and accountability across the world, which is really fun. And then in the
That's really
evening,
cool to say.
it's weird to say actually, and imposter syndrome creeps up all the time, right? But it's selfishly for me to learn how to, yeah, again, facilitate and learn and share, but also listen in to the people that sign up. So I think you could really level up when you hang out with some talented people. And that's I think what the cohort's about. And answer your question, living here, I love the fact that I get to be in nature, but not be so disconnected because of the virtual life of, meeting on a Monday morning with a Finnish guy, a Swedish girl, and people in America. One other person in what is it? A couple of countries in Africa too. Like
Holy
it's such a
smokes.
cool time to live, right, with the internet and technology.
Hmm.
So thanks to Patreon for that, right? Thanks to just the gratefulness of just having this accessible technology to us so we can stay connected. So I love living on my lake while connecting with the world every day. It's fantastic.
A lot of people say like, "Oh, I love going camping and hiking and this stuff to like disconnect." And I think I'm different. I love being out in nature, but I also love having cell service.
This
Like
is why we're friends. I get it, man.
you
I don't want
know,
to be, I'm not a purist. I'm not like judging anyone to have their cell phone in nature. It's like we're people. We want to stay connected.
it's like
I
I'm
don't know.
not sitting around the campfire on my phone, but when I'm trying to fall asleep in my tent, yeah, I like to
Right.
watch YouTube. I like to
Right.
message people on
Right.
Instagram. Like,
Right. Or
Fuck
you could
me.
listen to the mosquitoes outside the tent. Like, and then, why would I judge that person? It's like, okay, that's odd. That's not my jive. That's not my thing, but I'll watch my YouTube because I like to educate myself. I like to get influenced. I like to see something that inspires me. And maybe tomorrow I'll work on that, because I got my film gear. So no, totally, man.
I
You
just
gotta
recently found this guy. The channel's called Sunday,
okay.
and the main dude is MTV Jesse, who was one of the Nelk boys. But then he did a whole breakaway from them and then started his own thing. And honestly, I love watching those
You
videos.
gotta send me that stuff. That's awesome. It sounds awesome.
They're
Sundays,
super
okay.
inspiring, but they're also like a little jackass too at the same time. And it's like
Yeah.
these are the kind of not the videos I want to create, but did you guys have made?
Yeah.
Because like I guess Sunday is this basically a brand or a business will come to them and be like, we need help with marketing. We need
Mm.
videos, we need shirts, we need everything.
Creative agency.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I really would wish Flying 90 would end up at the end of the day would be.
Okay.
Just some like a local Lompoc business be like, hey, we're struggling with our social media, our business. We need this and this and this. Like, yeah, we could make that happen for you, no problem.
You'd be perfect at that. And I think it's gonna happen for you, man. Like if that's the goal, like I mean, you got the skill set. And if they got the budget, because you can't be good at everything, then you just hire some of your friends and the people you look up to, right? So I think, yeah, Max, it's very possible. And that's another thing I learned too through a corporate company of 80 years, right? The multi-billion-dollar company like IKEA. It's it's a lot about what's the dream, what's the thing you want to accomplish, get the right people, and as long as the investment makes sense towards the talent that you need, I mean, you just got to sell the idea. You don't have to sell how you're going to do it because you're going to figure that out after, and I feel you already have a lot of the how, but it's, yeah, that whole Sunday thing you're talking about, I'm sure they're working off budgets first, right? And then you hire the people that are best at doing the job.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And like that's a weird segue, but I feel that more and more as the older I get, it's like, okay, I could go work on my own Jeep, but it will take me 5 hours plus
Yep.
the 2 hours of learning what I need to do to fix it. When I got a good buddy down the street downtown that can do it the same day, it's like,
Yep.
just pay for it, get it over with,
Yeah.
get it done, and get your vehicle back.
Yeah. No, a lot of people think that saving is the way to do things and doing everything on yourself. And you can do a lot yourself. Like before this podcast, I was taking apart this like rotting gazebo, deck. And I'm like, no, I got the skill set and the tools to do that. So I'm not going to pay someone. And I enjoy doing that as well. So it's also leisure.
That
But if
sounds
it
like a
comes to,
YouTube video.
should have done that. I'm on my car. See, that's the thing. I got to document more what I do. And then my car, like, screw that. Like, I know enough about cars because I built a Volkswagen bus engine back in my teens. I did a second one, and that was like Lego for me, and that was fun. But now when I want to go to A to B with my Toyota RAV4, I'm not going to go and tweak that. But the Jeep community, I could see people wanted to maybe also tweak the doors and stuff and have fun with that. So it's different, right? If you want to go fix your Jeep, you go to your buddy. If you want to take out the doors, you'll do it yourself. It's about identifying leisure versus your time, what it's worth, and I say that's logistical economy. I don't know. I'm coming up with shit.
That's a good way to put it. It's like I don't know. I'm getting older. There's no
Man, we're getting old, man.
there's no denying that.
I
It's
think
like
we have the same birthday month. What's your birthday?
November 3rd,
I'm November 6th. What's the year?
no, 1990.
Yeah, I'm 1990, November 6th. Fuck. I remember seeing that pass. I never asked you straight up. I think I think it's his birthday, and it said the 3rd, which is like 3 days before mine. So yeah, we're getting
It's
older. We're
wild.
literally days apart from birth.
Dang.
Yeah.
Do we need
Cheers
to do
to
your
that.
birth chart on the podcast?
You what?
Do we need to do your birth chart?
A work chart?
You haven't seen those videos?
No.
It's like astrology girl at 3 a.m. or something like that.
Oh, I've heard. I haven't seen, no, but I've
Like,
heard about them
let
now.
me
Yeah,
do your
yeah.
birth chart.
Okay, do my birth chart.
Oh, I have no idea how to do any of that
I'm
shit.
kidding. I'm kidding. I would have been impressed. I'm already impressed by you. But it's funny. Okay, we're 3 days literally apart. You're 3 days older than me, Max.
And that's wild because as you know, this like, did you start school or like over here? There's like an age.
Yeah, same in Quebec. I started school in Quebec, so I started later.
Oh, I started earlier.
Oh fuck, my mom held me back. I hated that.
So
Didn't
I'm
hate
the
her
youngest
food.
one out of all my
I
friends.
wish my mom did that. Fuck, I was late. I was the older kid. Yeah, so see, it works those two ways. It's either she'll put you earlier or later. So no, you got the opposite. No, I stayed in school longer. Fuck.
I was a senior in high school, still didn't have my driver's license.
Lucky you go. I was buying alcohol for my friends before anyone else. That's what happened.
I won't say any names, but one of my best friends in high school lived across the street from me, and his
Right.
parents were always gone. And he was, I don't even know how to say it, but he looked older, and he
Right.
grew a beard before anyone else could, and he was the
Perfect.
alcohol connect. He
Yeah,
could
there's
get
what you
easy.
could get what you needed. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's 21 in the States, right?
Hmm.
In Quebec, Canada, you need to be 18.
That's
Yeah.
wild. That's
Yeah. So
cool
there's a
though.
bridge between Quebec and Ontario, Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada. There's a bridge. So you cross the bridge to Gatineau, which is the first town or city in Quebec province, and you get your beer, you cross the bridge over. So because you just have to prove you were 18 somehow on the other side, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
The only reason I know about Ottawa is because of The Office, and
No way. The Office talked about Ottawa.
that's where
That's
Holly got transferred.
hilarious. Is that what happened? I forgot that. That's hilarious.
And then Michael and Pam are on that like tour where they go talk to all the different branches.
Oh, I
And they're
missed
like,
that show.
we'll go up there.
So,
And she ended up being, oh, spoiler alert.
a spoiler alert for those that haven't seen The Office. You haven't lived since until you've seen that show. Please go watch that show. I watched it later. I watched it when my first daughter was born. I was like binge watching that shit. I love The Office.
Did you watch the original or the Superfan episodes?
Now I use YouTube to watch like the highlights of the British version. Yeah,
Have you watched the American version?
that's the only one I've watched fully.
Oh, okay.
What? Which? Yeah, like the Office with Michael, like with
But you mentioned
what's
the British version though.
the British version. I thought you meant the second. I thought you meant the other Office. Like the original is the British version, isn't it?
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. So I
Oh,
haven't watched the original. I've watched it on YouTube and some highlights just to compare it.
okay, okay. My
What
bad.
is it? Ricky Gervais
This is
is
backing up here
Michael.
a little bit.
Yeah, same here.
Uh, I don't know how heavily you followed The Office and all of that stuff, but it was on Netflix, right? Forever. And
Yes,
that was the only place to watch it. But then Peacock bought it back.
that's what's gone.
So on
And
Peacock, you can watch the original episodes of the American Office,
okay.
but then they have the super fan episodes.
Oh, I haven't seen those.
It's the same
Super
show, but
fan.
they like added more stuff into it
No.
that they cut out for like commercials and stuff like that.
I'll,
Totally changes it.
I'll have to check if there's a DVD because I actually recently bought a DVD player because I got like it wasn't now you're just adding to why I bought a DVD player because I'm just like pissed when I subscribe to something and it takes it away, which I'm like, why did I give away my DVDs? So I have a VHS player and I have a DVD player. And it's great because my daughter who's 6 is like, what's
Oh,
this, Dad? And I'm like, let me show you what this is.
do you know how pissed I am about stuff like that? Like, I got one of these things, like, have it right
Right.
next to me. And if you buy the expansion pack, you get the emulators for Game Boy Color, like Game Boy
Right.
games
The
and
shit that you already
N64.
had in the past.
Right, right. But the kicker is you have to be connected to Wi-Fi in order to play them.
Oh, which wasn't a problem back in the 90s, dude.
Yeah, seriously.
Right? So now they're making it a problem. Yeah. I have a Game Boy Color and I still have my old Game Boy Pocket that I got for Christmas when I wanted a Game Boy Color. And I remember my dad going like, you got what you wanted. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not color, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. It's green. Yeah, but you're not getting the point. It's okay. It's okay.
They still work?
Yeah, fuck yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's
My
awesome.
green pocket. Yeah, that's another thing with that technology, right? Freaking just continues. Yeah, yeah.
What's the last game? Do you remember the last game you played?
Super Mario Land 2. That
I'm
was the last.
terrible at those games.
I had Pokemon Blue. Didn't have yellow like the cool kids. I had the blue. Um and then we all remember the kid with the Game Shark on the freaking recess. The freaking Game Shark. Man, maybe that's how I'm trying to live life. How can you have a Game Shark, to hack life? Maybe that's
Called
what I'm thinking.
friends.
Yeah, it's called having
Community.
friends. Your Game Shark is having a good friend that knows some hacks. That's right.
I moved to Texas for about a week. I don't know if you saw that. But then I
I did.
realized over there,
Right.
my community that I have here in Lompoc is just second to none. And I missed them too much. And I turned right around and came back.
Amazing. Okay, so it was 2 weeks. Yeah, I've seen. It's hard to follow. Sometimes I'm like, was that a trip? Was that a vacation? Was that a? Okay, no, it was a permanent. That became just a vacation. Basically, it came back.
I thought might move to San Antonio. Yeah. And then just, nope, didn't feel it at all. I love San Antonio is beautiful. I would definitely
Right.
recommend checking it out and visiting. But where I
But
live
there's
is like a town less than 50,000 people, right? And we have, yeah, there is one on ramp and off ramp, but that's because we live like, this is like Lompoc down here, and then I live in Vandenberg Village.
right.
So there's a highway that connects us down to the town, but that's it. There's not like traffic jams or stuff
All
like
that
that.
stuff. Yeah.
I go to anywhere. If I go to like the gas station, Walmart, to the brewery, obviously I'll know people at the brewery. But anywhere else, I'll run into like 3 or 4 different people that I know, and they're stoked to see me. And I'm like, you can't not replace this. I love it
No,
here.
I get it, man. Community is everything. You could always build a community, but then why, right? You gotta ask yourself why. And I think if it's a matter of just packing up and going back to that, and to your point, right? Your gut, it's your best compass. So if
Mm-hmm.
your gut's telling you to go back home, then most likely it's the best move to do, right?
Yeah, and I'm back. And it's funny too because on my drive back, before I got to Las Cruces, because it took me 2 days to get back to California, I got an email from this company that does rocket launches. Or maybe not
Right.
they don't do the launches, but they do the payload for launches.
Okay.
And they're like, hey, we have a launch for SpaceX on May,
Crazy.
it's in the middle of May, and we saw all your YouTube videos of the rocket launches. Can you come and film this one for us?
Insane. Insane. I was gonna ask you more about that because when you're saying you had a rocket launch to go film, I'm like, how many friends do you have telling you that they're busy because they're going to film a rocket launch? I can't say I have more than the one that's in front of me, and there's no one in my Canadian entourage that's like, yeah, we're gonna go film a rocket. We don't have many rocket, launching over here. We don't have NASA, sorry, or SpaceX.
And that's another question I had for you because you're on the other side of the
Yep,
continent.
sure.
And every time I travel, people are always like, where are you from? And I'm like, well, have you ever heard of SpaceX where they launched the rockets? Thinking that's a
Clear
clearly good
indication.
designator
Yeah,
because that's like huge for us. And they're like, no, never heard of that.
yeah.
But have you
Wow.
ever heard of SpaceX or like Vandenberg Air Force Base or the West Coast launch window?
You're getting more in details, but like anything related to Elon Musk and what he's done, that's like huge. Like we've all heard it. I love NASA because um the Neistat brothers van worked for Tom Sachs, who's a sculptor and artist that basically just rips off NASA with his art, which is fantastic. So I got into the NASA through his art in a weird way, not because of spaceships, and space, just through this guy in Brooklyn, New York, making sculptures out of plywood, and painting NASA logos on everything. So because of that, I understand what you're saying, right? But I don't think a lot of my fellow Canadians know more than just what SpaceX, other than SpaceX, what's going on. Yeah. Yeah, because it's not very a
Humbling.
patriotic thing for Canadians, right? Like we're like, cool. Like we learned in '69, we went to the moon because of our neighbors. Great, you know, yay. But then, as generations kind of go through the '69 fact, you're just like, meh, right? And then Elon Musk comes and just basically puts budget back into NASA, right? Or anyways, NASA saved him and then he put budget back. That's a long story short, but um yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah, because we live in space country.
Right,
I
literally.
guess you could say, yeah.
Yeah, right.
They're trying
Whereas
to build
us,
like a 5 million space, like space
right,
Disneyland, for lack of a better
behemoth.
word.
Yeah, I'd say California is known for its wine in Canada. I'll tell you that.
Interesting.
There- There's a lot of wine drinking of California wine, especially in yeah, like Quebec is really big on importing internationally. But the rest of Canada, when you go into a wine LCBO, it's called. It's what the store where you could go buy the wine. You can't really buy anywhere else. California is like huge on the shelves. Yeah. So the wine county is huge. People travel from Canada to California to go enjoy the wine culture that's out there and to get sun because we hate winter as much as we celebrate it with
I
hockey,
hate winter too.
skiing, and stuff. I say we hate. Like, I mean, it's just getting longer sometimes. As much as you, anyone that says I love winter, it's because they have a sport specifically that needs the snow that they do. Outside of that, if you love winter to a point where you like it every day of the season, I think you're crazy. You know, walking out in minus, I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit, but like minus 35 Celsius, which is, what is that in Fahrenheit? Like, it's
Way too
freaking,
cold. If like
you could throw
zero.
a bucket of steaming hot boiling water
Yeah.
outside and it will freeze before it hits the ground. Like
Nope.
that's what it is sometimes.
The older I get, I only want to go outside if it's double my age.
It's double.
Something like what I'm 32 right now, so that's to be 64.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. You're in the right you're in the right state, man. You're in the right state.
It's been cold here.
Has
I
it?
try to. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Today was only a high of 59.
Yeah, Fahrenheit.
Or
I'm shit at Fahrenheit. What's Celsius? That's where we fucked up in Canada. We can't keep up with our neighbors.
I do have one assistant here. Alexa, what's 59 degrees Fahrenheit in Celsius?
59 degrees Fahrenheit is 15 degrees Celsius.
Oh man, that's cold. Yeah,
That's
that's
cold.
colder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here it was 24 Celsius. So, maybe the double age mark for sure for you. Yeah, one of the hotter days we've had so far. Yeah, 15. Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah, that's cold.
Yeah,
It's
but
hard to
we get
go
to
and exercise.
we go to minus. We go to minus. Like 15's not like we're still in t-shirts sometimes, some Canadians, right? They're like still in t-shirt at 15, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, minus 15 isn't too bad in the winter. Minus 35. That's
cold.
yeah, that's like frostbite.
Are there
Yeah.
any like Canadian YouTubers that stand out to you?
Wow. I wish I was patriotic. I could just start saying, yeah, Peter McKinnon.
Yeah. Okay. Boom. Big one.
Yeah, I had to think there because he's living in Toronto, but he's traveling more. But yeah, that was a huge influence for me. The photography scene, Mr. McKinnon, the way he's diversified his portfolio with jewelry and knickknacks and clothing, and actually I kind of look up to the guy. Like, and he's vulnerable too. Like he says. He talks a lot about the demons. I say demons as in like the shadow, like the things that we don't really share usually on YouTube. I feel like he's I'd say most of the time quite authentic. So yeah, I'm very influenced by him. I don't really watch him as much anymore.
Yeah. Same here.
Just because of time and just trying to get into. I watch YouTube just because it really needs to kind of help whatever project or thing I'm doing now. And then once you get the basics of photography, it gets repetitive after a while, right? You're like, I don't care about your ISO settings. I just don't care about your aperture / shutter speed. I do my thing, But
Yeah.
once in a while,
Especially you get your own style like dial.
right? Yeah, right. Lightroom. I've watched my 20 odd videos. And now I'm cool. Like I've dialed that in. Like, am I perfect at it? No, but that's the client's happy. I'm happy. I got my film look when I want it. Like, so yeah, Peter McKinnon, man. Yeah.
That's like, yeah. And then like MTV Jesse, he's from Canada.
Okay.
And I always love when y'all's accent comes out. The sneaking A in there somehow.
Did I say it at all in this podcast
No,
already?
you haven't, and I've been a little upset.
I'm sorry, man. I think that's the French Canadian part of me. I think it's that but when I used to live in Ottawa. I used to live in that region, and I used to say it a lot more, I think. Yeah. Yeah. I think I
I
speak
even
quicker.
unlike your notes, I even drew like a Canadian flag and stuff.
I love it.
I'm terrible at drawing.
Man, I love the effort. I feel honored you tried.
Well, I mean, there's just the last few questions here for you specifically.
Okay.
But what about like grind versus burnout? We talked a little bit about like feeling it, and I'm big on that. When you're feeling it, go dive in, like stay up till midnight, edit your video, do whatever you need. But when you're not feeling it, fuck it. Don't even go on the computer. Just wait, like, and rest, enjoy, like, listen to your body and see what it needs. Kind of that
Yeah.
situation.
I've been burnt out before. And I didn't know it. That was weird. Not knowing that you're hitting burnout. It was a little before my first marriage, like divorce. Like I had an all-time low. I was less patient. I got to a red light one day, and it was red, and someone honked once, twice, three times, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? And I'm not a person that's violent or loses his shit. But that day, I remember I was so just tired and burnt out and finished with the world. I got out of my car and I'm like, you want to talk to me about this red light one more time? I yelled out loud.
I
And
just can't imagine this.
I looked into the glass window. Like I didn't get to the car. I just stepped out of my car and I looked at him. I said that out loud and I got back in the car and I drove off to the green light. And I'm like, I don't recognize myself. And I'm not proud of that. I'm actually very embarrassed of what I just did. And that was my symptom of like, I've gone too far. I've gone too far because this is not Mike. And I'll always remember that day. And burnout also comes from also not having the right base. I think when you're building we'll say an empire of whatever you're trying to build, you need to have a good base. So I was trying to make a marriage work that shouldn't have happened. High school sweetheart, grew apart a long time ago, tried to fix something that shouldn't be fixed because it can't be fixed. Just accepting that defeat isn't always defeat. Sometimes it's about moving on. So to answer your question, I'm such an advocate for it because I've lived burnout. I've changed my life since from that learning that was costly to me, not just financially, but in everything, cost everything, in terms of just my well-being. So I'm about taking your time with things and yeah, you gotta sometimes hustle and you gotta push when the flow's there. Sometimes also it's about showing up when you don't want to. So listening to your body still, but sometimes you just gotta show up because you got a bigger goal. But you can't have too many of those because you gotta listen to your gut per se, right?
Right.
So hence this is why I'm building a wellness retreat because I want to help others. So it's like no kids allowed, adults only. I love kids. I have two, third in the sky, lost a kid. So I know what it is going through grief of losing a child. And that was another shit show in my life. So yeah, just how do you take care of oneself while you live what life has to offer, which is fantastic and sometimes just horrific. So just listen to yourself. Don't hustle too much because at the end of the day, life is about the experiences and the people that you meet. And if you're not healthy and you're burnt out, then what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. Your work's going to be diminished. It'll be a reflection in your work.
Yeah, your work's going to suffer, your home life's going to suffer, your relationships are going to suffer. And you're putting yourself at risk. It's like Mike being burnt out, had it with the world coming out of his car because someone's impatient behind him honking the horn. For today, I just don't give a fuck, honk all you want, I'll hit the gas once it's green.
Right.
So it's yeah, just listen to yourself.
And I'm definitely one of those people that like replays memories in my head.
Mm.
And it's like, oh, that's gonna live on forever. Like, oh, I shouldn't have honked. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done that. And it's like,
Yep.
that was
Yeah.
3 years ago. Like, why am I thinking about this?
Yeah, I think, I used to take it really hard on myself and even that, right? But now I'm openly talking to you about this experience that I was ashamed of. And I feel that's the growth that I can reflect on that I've conquered because at one point I would have hid all my mistakes. Now I openly even go to job interviews in the past and talk about my mistakes before I talk about my strengths and get the job. And I'm like, holy shit, like this is the opposite of what you're supposed to do in an interview.
Right.
This is the opposite what you're supposed to do on a date, when I was meeting Catherine for the first time, it's like, I think the best thing you could do is, yeah, you sell yourself, tell them what you're about and, but also talk about your struggles and the things you're going through. And that's how you'll find the right people in your life, whether it's an intimate relationship, a friendship. We talked about being weird, being our unique selves. Like, one guy, you talked about influences earlier. Let's tie it to this. One that doesn't exist is called Batman. When I was 6 years old, I had a Batman party. My mom sewed me a fucking costume. It was horrible, but I fucking loved it. And I was so attached to Batman because the guy was afraid of bats, was a foster guy. Um, it's like a foster guy. He was a foster kid, and weirdly enough, I went to foster care after my parents separated, and I was like, my parents didn't die, but one abandoned me for 10 years. The other one went to a mental institute because of depression. And Batman kind of kept me like unconsciously understand that you can have your demons, but still do good in the world. And like I have a Batmobile toy actually I bought off eBay not too long ago. There you go. That was my Batmobile I got.
Dude, that's why people keep the background out of focus because they got all the cool toys.
That's all the toys. Yeah, there's a case full of camera gear. But I got this on eBay the other day because that was my first Batmobile when I was 6 at that birthday that I had lost, and I found it. But the point is, it's kind of weird to have it accessible here. But
absolutely not.
My point is, well, I didn't think I referenced the toy behind me, but to me, Batman is a great example of no matter what mistakes you made in your past, you could turn that into a positive. Maybe not go run in the streets and wear a fucking costume like a weirdo. But the truth is, maybe I'm friends with Max because he's kind of doing that too, right? Sees an older couple needing some help and he's fucking pulling them out, right? Being Batman, so I think that's where I connect to. It's just people being kind, although people were not kind on them. I've been abused. I've been through many things in my life, and I just don't give those people the right for me to be an asshole. So
right.
Yeah. So, but Batman Batman went through burnout too. And there's like, there's even those in the series too. Like just the story is the same, whether they're real or not. The hero story remains the same. You fuck up and you try to do good after.
Amen to that. And then you find the girl and it's a Hallmark movie.
Right. That's a Hallmark movie. Right. And then I think behind any good man, not to say you can't do it on your own, but I think it helps to have your assistant, whether it's a partner and a set of friends or a relationship, an intimate partner that I think honestly, it's like a business. If you're hiring, let's say at the brewery, some assholes, you wouldn't do that. Right. Same with your intimate relationships. Like you want to find someone that's going to cheer you on, as much as you do for your own friends. Like, am I saying that my girlfriend is my top best friend? In a way she is. And that was kind of a huge thing. And maybe that's why those girls are intimidated of you having so many girlfriends that are friends, because that's a great like prerequisite in my eyes, that hopefully the girl that you bring into your life in an intimate way, those other girls brought that benchmark so that girl enters that life that way. Right.
Right.
Anyways,
they're like an example of how a woman should be, more or less. Right.
And then the attractiveness was like the added component, right? Like, so yeah, they could be good looking and they could be funny, and okay, you're 80% there, but then that other 20% is that one, right? That really brought it together where, she maybe likes the same stuff you like and pushes. And I'm saying that Catherine loves everything that I like. She hates rock and roll as much. Like she's like some rock and roll, but rock and roll is like half my DNA. I'm like, how can this work? It somehow does work. Oof. It does. So
that's how I feel about screamo music.
Oh yeah.
And some of these girls are like, I hate, like, what kind of music are you into? I like this and this, but all caps, I hate screamo. Like, that's my soul that right hurts. There.
That's soul. Be careful. Be careful what you say.
Tread lightly.
We're still friends, but tread lightly. Yeah, that's me. That's my DNA. Yeah. All right. How do we bring this one home, man?
All right. The last thing I want to know. There's 2 questions, but let's just pick one.
Let's do it.
Yeah. If you could collaborate on an idea with anyone, who would it be? Money's not an issue.
It's funny. I have a check mark, a box that I am checking off. And one of them in my life is I want to have 10 businesses I own 50-50 with some friends of mine. So I've already have a few in the works in a 5-ish year term. But you talk about creative agency. So who knows? Maybe you and I have this collaboration of a international or, continental.
I'll move to Canada.
Creative agency. Maybe you take care of the States. You're like head of States and I'm head of Canada. And we just, work out this creative agency with our backgrounds, So Flying 90 and, the Rebels Cohort in Canada. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But that's it. Long story short, whether it's you and I on a venture, I honestly, Max, have that goal. I want to have 10 businesses where I own 50% and my other friend owns 50% of it. And we just collaborate on the venture and serving people in a better way, whether it's a service or a product. In this case, it may be a creative service, right? And you know, some of the work would be done by us and others would be delegate to some friends because we got budget. So you know, so here we are ideating maybe something that may never flourish or maybe will flourish, but at the end of the day, that's what I want. I want to just collab, and I've started already. I've already started some collaboration, so
Love it.
why not?
Love hearing it. Well, I really extremely appreciate your time. We've almost gone 2 hours here.
Really? That went by
Yeah.
like so quickly, and I appreciate your time, man. Thanks for having me as an invite.
Thanks for being the first guest. And
Privilege.
I don't really know how to close this thing off, but
Have a freaking great day, everyone. Be real, be unique, be weird, and you know, hustle when you can, but rest when you can, right? So it's about working hard and playing hard, and take
amen
care
to
of each
that.
other and be kind.
Yeah. Are we just gonna steal Ellen's segue? Like, be kind, everyone.
Right. Be kind. All right. Cheers.
All right, Mike. I appreciate
All right.
you.
Appreciate it, man.
Have a good rest of your Thursday.
You too, man.
All right, later.
All right, later.